Section 1.2a is about evaluating rational expressions. If you're going to evaluate an expression, you need to know what order to do the operations in an expression. And that leads us to a definition here called order of operation. These are the rules that we need to let us know which operation to perform first in an expression. This is going to tell you which way to solve a problem that you may have. Now these are the steps, or this is the order in which you do the operations. First of all, when you're solving an expression, you want to evaluate inside grouping symbols. Now what are grouping symbols? Things like parentheses, brackets, braces, these are all grouping symbols. Typically we talk about parentheses though as the number one grouping symbol. Step number 2, evaluate all powers. Another word for powers is exponents, and you'll see why in a minute, why I chose that word. Then you're going to do all multiplication and division from left to right. The key here is left to right. That's very important. A lot of people think you do multiplication first, then division. That's not true. You do them both from left to right. And then the last step is addition and subtraction from left to right. Now this mnemonic here, PEMDAS, or some people call it PEMDAS, is what we use typically in the mathematical world to remember these steps. This is what each letter stands for in the order of operations. P is parentheses, also known as grouping symbols. E is exponents. M is multiplication. D is division. A is addition. And S is subtraction. A reminder, these are done from left to right. But this is one way that you can remember the order of operations, this word PEMDAS. Now some people use these letters, PEMDAS, and they come up with a phrase to help them remember. And the phrase that we typically use is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, which stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Here we have some examples of expressions that we want to evaluate. And I'm going to show you why the order of operations is important. If I were to take this and just work from left to right, I would add 3 plus 2 and get 6. I would then multiply 6 times 3 and get 18. And then 18 plus 5 to get 23. The problem is that's the wrong answer. That answer is not right because we didn't do the order of operations properly. Now, according to the order of operations, the way we should have done this is by using PEMDAS. And I'm going to write PEMDAS over here to help us remember. Step number 1 is parentheses. I see no parentheses, so I'm going to go now to step number 2, exponents. I don't see any exponents, so now we move to multiplication and division from left to right. I do see multiplication, 2 times 3, so I'm going to multiply those and get 6. And then I'll write the rest of the problem. I don't see any more multiplication or division, so now I look for addition and subtraction, and again from left to right. 3 plus 6 is 9, and 9 plus 5 is 14. This is the correct answer for this expression. Notice we're going to get two different answers, one of which is wrong if we don't follow the order of operations, and the other one is correct if we do follow the order of operations. You always want to use these steps in order when you're solving. Let's take a look at B. Again, we're going to use PEMDAS. There are no parentheses. Now we're going to check for exponents, and there are some exponents here. 4 squared means 4 times 4, which is 16, so we rewrite it. Now we're going to look for multiplication and division from left to right. Some people might take this 3 times 5 and multiply it, but we have to go left to right, so we'll do 15 divided by 3 first, get a 5. Then we'll continue to do multiplication, 25 minus 16. Now addition, subtraction from left to right will give us a 9. Here we have some more expressions that we have to evaluate, and these include grouping symbols. I'm going to start by writing PEMDAS over there so we have a way to help us with our order of operations. Looking at this, I want to do parentheses first. I want you to notice that there are two sets of parentheses here, and they mean something different. This parenthesis on the left is not acting like a grouping symbol. It's a parenthesis that just means multiplication. But this parenthesis, this set of parentheses over here, they're actually grouping part of the expression together. So that's the part that we do when it says parentheses, because the P stands for parentheses. Also, it stands for any grouping symbols. So here I'm going to do what's in these parentheses first. I'm going to leave the rest alone, and 4 plus 3 is 7. So that takes care of the parentheses step. Next is exponents. There are none, so we go to multiplication and division from left to right. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 7 is 21. And then addition, subtraction from left to right give us a 31. Our next example, there are no parentheses, but there are brackets, and brackets do fall under this grouping symbol heading, so we include them in the P step, or the parentheses step. Now there are also other parentheses inside. When that's the case, you work inside out, and you do whatever's inside of the inside parentheses first. So we're going to do 30 divided by 6 because they're being grouped, which gives us a 5. Now we're going to do what's inside these brackets, and inside there we do multiplication and division before addition and subtraction, but there's exponents, so we even have to do that before we do anything else. So 5 squared is 25. Now we're going to continue to work in the brackets, or the grouping symbols, to be a 30, and then finally multiply 2 times 30, which is 60. So you got to be very careful what order you do the steps, and again, PEMDAS will help you do that. Here's another problem to evaluate. I'll put PEMDAS on the side to help us out, but the interesting part about this problem is this big division bar. And you don't have to write this, but I would like to show you what that big division bar actually means. It really means we're going to take the numerator and divide it by the denominator. And when you write the problem out this way, you realize that there's these implied parentheses in the numerator and in the denominator. So what you have to do is you have to evaluate the numerator first, and then the denominator second, and then divide them at the end. So we're going to start by doing the 6 plus 4 squared. We'll evaluate that. So on the top, we do exponents first. So it's going to give us 6 plus 16, and then 16 plus 6 is 22. Now we're going to do the denominator. Exponents first. 3 squared is 9, and 9 times 4 is 36. Now we'll do division. Since it doesn't divide evenly, all we can do is simplify. So we'll divide the top by 2 and reduce, divide the bottom by 2. 11 over 18, which I don't believe reduces anymore. So when you have a fraction, a big fraction like this, treat it as if there's parentheses on the top and the bottom, and simplify accordingly.